But you know what? It's like when you are famous or a celebrity, you're famous and a celebrity because fans watch you and pay money. All of our money comes from fans. So these people that don't have time for their fans, you know what? Get over yourself.
I have nothing but time for my fan. As a matter of fact, he told me
to... thank you for watching, fan.
And he told me to quit DMing him as much. Fire premiere because she was friends with Demi. Emilio Estevez was in it, so Martin Sheen was there. I see Martin Sheen in the lobby. I'm like, oh my God, Martin Sheen. And Robbie's like, where? I said, over there. And she runs and jumps on his back. And I'm like freaking the fuck out. And so we're all hanging out. It's me and Martin Sheen and God knows who. And I can't even hear words. And he looks at me and looks at her and says, is this guy a good guy? She says, oh yeah. And he says, well, why don't you guys come to my house Sunday for Father's Day? The next thing I know, I'm in a hot tub with Demi Moore, Martin Sheen, Emilio Estevez, and this girl I'm dating. And I'm like, I'm going to be famous by tomorrow. And then I'm playing basketball with Martin Sheen and Emilio and maybe Ramon. It's all a blur. Wow. You started rolling already? Yeah. We're talking about, this is, I'm in a movie. Hi, everybody. It's your boy, Mark. If you can't, by the way, I thought about this today.
Have we started?
It's already over.
Typically, don't things actually, we're starting now.
This is me doing it now.
Let me introduce my sidekick.
Yeah, I'm getting to that.
All
this
right.
is like a soft, cold open.
I see. So I don't get nervous?
Yeah, that's right. I want to ease you into it.
Got it.
Like most of our... I dawned on me that those of you who may be discovering this podcast, Bonfire Talks with Mark Walberg, some of you may be people that know me because you've seen me on TV or whatever. And then some of you probably clicked on this thinking it's the other Mark Walberg, and now you're like confused.
That's why I'm here.
Would you please stay? If that's you, will you please stay?
Give him 5 minutes.
Yeah.
He will charm you within 5 minutes. If not, leave with prejudice.
Yes. And leave a comment about it.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was flim-flam. Bait and switch.
Yes. He's not even Catholic.
No.
But.
Really not Catholic.
But for those of you who want that, I have a Catholic guest. Born that way.
Yeah, born Catholic.
Returning for maybe his third or fourth visit on the pod, and making his case strongly to be the permanent sidekick is TV, cartoon, movies, live performance star, winner of 3 Emmys, Mark DeCarlo.
It's good to be back here in the sidekick seat, Mark.
It is good to have you back. Let's just run a lower third caveat that those 3 regional Emmys.
Listen, there's New York, LA, and then Midwest, the middle of the country. So it's more than just Chicago.
One might argue that winning an Emmy there is more of a Heartland Emmy and far more valuable than the showbiz accolades.
Yes, if a Hollywood Emmy is cotton candy and a New York Emmy is a bagel, a Midwest Emmy, it's like a bundt cake or a casserole, like a tuna casserole.
It's a tuna casserole that someone's mother made and brought to the church for you.
Right.
That's right.
With a side of cornbread.
That's right. That's right. It's a hot dish.
It'll fill you up. My Emmys will fill you up.
Get you through the winter. Your Emmy will keep you warm in the winter months.
I believe that's the tagline for the Midwest Emmys. Yes.
I think so. Excellence in broadcasting. It'll get you through the winter.
Were you ever nominated for an Emmy for the Mark Wahlberg talk show?
That's so sweet of you.
No, were you? I don't remember.
No.
Oh.
No.
You should have been.
Thanks.
You were not that bad.
No, I wasn't that bad. And I don't know why people didn't notice because there were only 29 talk shows that season.
Right. There were a lot.
Yeah, a lot of talk shows. I was only one of them.
But now you have your own talk show.
That's right.
I mean, it's a podcast.
Is that what this is?
This is a podcast.
Yeah,
but I mean, the podcast today is what those talk shows were back in the day.
Tell me more. But Let
me teach you about television, Mark.
My favorite was when we were pitching a show to Dick Clark, who basically created our industry.
Wasn't it a great day?
And it was a great day. And we're in his office. This was Kalen DeCarlo at his greatest. I had worked with Dick, so I had a relationship with him.
I did not.
And when I say I worked with Dick,
that's how I got into show business.
Listen, don't judge me, okay? And please
First of all,
subscribe to my OnlyFans.
In Dick's office,
Dick Clark,
about a room maybe twice the size of
Easily.
this. Every square inch on the wall is pictures of Dick Clark with
icons.
Elvis, the Beatles, Jesus, Muhammad, like
Right.
everybody
Yes.
in the world. And they're looking up to Dick Clark, and we're sitting across from him in the room, pictured him an idea. It was a
dating show.
It was like a show business baptism for me.
It was a good pitch, and we were pitching it, and the Dick was trying to say, but I don't know if that's going to work with such and such. And Mark's like, well, let me tell you why it will work. And he's kind of explaining TV, and Mark literally saw it happening. He's like, let me tell you how TV works, Dick Clark. Yeah. But what was interesting is that Dick Clark was older at this point. Mm-hmm. This is pre-stroke, but certainly in the twilight years, not of his career never got soft, but he wasn't a young guy. But what I loved about it was we were pitching this dating show that was on trend, and he literally said, look, I don't have any clue what that audience is, so if you tell me this is what's up, he was
a genius in a variety of ways.
This is something I think if there's a takeaway that's valuable here is that when you know you're the shit, you can be open to criticism and learning.
Right.
And when you work with producers, as we have because of our illustrious careers in all sorts of media, the producers who aren't good at their job control you more. And the producers who know what's going on let you stretch and go, yeah, no. Or, okay.
Right.
Dick was that guy.
Well, because he had been on television since the 50s.
Yeah.
And this is...
Radio first.
Right. This is the 90s or the early 2000s when we're pitching him. And the world changes. And the only way he stayed on top and relevant is by listening to other people and continually reinventing his content.
I remember when I first got... I was working as a PA or maybe a production coordinator at this point, but on the crew side of things, and I got a job.
Would you say you were the handsomest person on the crew, probably?
It's funny you say that because we had awards at Christmas every year.
Right.
When we worked at Dick Clark Productions. What were they called? Were they called the Dickies or they were called something? And I won
Dickies
one.
like the half mock turtleneck?
No, but let's bring those back.
Yeah.
Because on a hot day, but you still want the Diane Keaton look. It's nice to have your arms free. I say bring the Dickie back as a shirt. Just that. So it flops a little bit. And all your belly stuff is happening.
Very sexy for you.
Anyway, they gave out all sorts of awards, sort of like the Dundies on The Office. And I think I won best looking in The Office. I did, didn't I, Rob? Robbie's still here. I told her not to stay, but she stayed.
I still have the little Oscar.
Yeah, you had a little Oscar. Thank you. Which is similar to your Emmy, actually.
The most handsome Dickie award. That's nice.
Thank you. Which give a vowel or two away, is an entirely different award that I won at the AVNs several years later.
So we pitched this show to Dick Clark, blah, 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 blah. He turns to the agent and goes, I'll buy it. And he bought it in the room.
He bought it in the room.
Which never happens.
Never happens.
Never happens.
So we walked out of there going, we're going to be.
The game, it was a dating.
It was,
we did the pilot.
It was a good idea.
It was a good idea.
And then we did several run-throughs, and he came to the run-throughs. Yeah.
Hosting a show with Dick Clark in the room.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
always fun. And then he had 2 or 3 Weimaraner dogs in the office, and we had an office in his place. I come back from lunch one day, and I hear this noise. I look under my desk.
I've told the same story.
And Dick Clark is picking up dog shit and scrubbing the carpet. I'm like, Dick, nope, my dogs, I'll clean it up.
That's right. I came back and saw the poop and said to the receptionist, do you have any paper towels? Because Dick's dog left a little present on the desk. And then while I was going to get paper towels, we came back in and found Dick under the desk on his hands and knees, scrubbing the poop. And we're like, no, Dick, it's okay. And he's like, no, my dog's my poop. And I'm like, this isn't a core memory or visual I want of the icon who's my mentor in life. This is not it.
No. I mean, sure, you visualize him underneath your desk, but not picking up poop.
No. Exactly. No. That's the power move. Yeah. But just
God love him. He was a good
Let's
man.
wrap up this Dick Clark discussion by saying everything I learned in television as a host and as a producer, and a lot of the stuff as a human, I learned observing him closely. And those people, and I said this at his funeral, because he had a big funeral that I was invited to, big memorial on his big, beautiful property, and everybody was there. Stevie Wonder sang, and it was crazy. I met Fergie. That was, and Josh Duhamel, both dreamy. But then we had a separate memorial near the old office where we all worked at Dick Clark Productions, and it started turning into a little bit of a roast because Dick had a reputation of being cheap.
Thrifty.
Well, cheap. And so they were all lamenting, Dick, cheap. And then I was hosting it, and at one point I said, look, I'm not going to lie to you. None of us got rich there. I later learned that a rap party after a show isn't pizza on the stage while you wrapped up the cables from the show. They actually sometimes are an actual thing. I said, but I watched you guys pull up in your Mercedes and Rolls Royces and stuff, and I know that, like me, so many of you got jobs you weren't qualified for well before. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm good. I'm okay.
Yeah, he didn't pay you in experience.
I said,
and knowledge and wisdom.
All of you, I watched so many of you get jobs you weren't qualified for, but Dick thought you were, and you took the job. I said, so suffice to say that none of us got rich at Dick Clark Productions, but many of you here got rich because of Dick Clark Productions.
Ooh. Well done. That's why you hosted it.
We'll be right back. I wish if people were advertising, this would be a great place to go.
It really would. For
Sadly,
a Dick Clark show. Rockin' New Year's Eve with Ryan Seacrest coming right up.
Hey. All right, Mark.
So is there an agenda? I mean, is the sidekick supposed to drive the agendas and drop stuff on you? How does it work? I didn't study the script.
Well, I have some thoughts, but feel free to drop wherever you're going, because what goes on in that enormous head of yours.
It is a big head.
It's not in comparison, but that's another core memory I love, is that when we went to see Wayne Newton, and Mark was a big star at the time, and I was his warm-up guy. He was the star of Studs. It's great. If you got to go on Tubi, I think those shows are airing.
They are.
And they were groundbreakingly great. It was just a silly dating show. And I say this in front of you, and I don't really like to compliment you to your face, but
it hurts.
Mark has this incredible knowledge, like intellectual knowledge, academic knowledge of history and science and all sorts of things, but also likes poop jokes. So he had these dating contestants, and he would go from like quantum physics to poop jokes in so quickly. It was really, really funny. And that dating show really was a huge hit. But we ended up shooting some shows in Vegas, I think.
We did a week in Vegas.
Yes.
With Wayne Newton.
Yes. And so we got invited to go see the Wayne Newton show, where, if I'm correct, you tipped the maitre d' with buffet vouchers.
Did I really?
You swear to God you did.
Was I messing around, or that's all I had?
I think that's all you had. Like, here, my good man.
Get yourself some crab legs.
Yeah. It's all you can eat.
But we were making... It was at the Aladdin Hotel.
It was pretty incredible. We have several. Might as well just tell a lot of these stories.
So we're at the Aladdin Hotel, and we're playing blackjack. Mark and I and Michael Cantor and Lois Curran.
Michael Cantor has produced all sorts of stuff, including stuff that's happening now. Like America Says, I think he's producing.
Right, and 25 Words or Less, and Kevin Hart Show. And Lois ran MTV. Brian Graydon ran MTV. We're all playing and Jeff Merkin. We're all playing blackjack, and there was this dealer named Dino who was tipping what the cards were.
No, excuse me. We were taping shows of Studs in Vegas, and Dino was a contestant.
Oh, he was?
Who was also a dealer.
Oh, that's how we met him, because we knew him, right?
And this was before, they had the things that looked at cards, and it wasn't all of us at the table. It was you, me, and Merkin.
Oh.
And this was after we're done taping and stuff. I'll get back to his large head in a moment. But Dino was like, he
would look at his cards.
He looked to see if
his hand was like this, don't take a card. If his hand was like that, take a card.
Or he would say, you might want to hit that, because you could say things.
Right.
And I remember I had no money left. So Jeff Merkin had 20 and I had a nickel. So we made a $25 bet that I had $5 worth of in, and we hit. And then we just kept doubling and doubling and doubling and doubling. And got our money back.
We made a lot of money, and then every time he went on break, we'd meet him in the men's room and slip him some cash.
That's right.
That was a fun week.
But then we got invited. So Wayne Newton did a cameo on one of the shows.
He did like a cold open.
He invited us to come see his show. Mark tips the maitre d'. We walked in like the Rat Pack. We thought we were the Rat Pack. And he tips the maitre d' with buffet vouchers. I'll never forget it. And they bring us down to our banquet table, which was, what do you remember?
Captain's table A1A.
A1A, right? Which is, if you've seen Vegas Vacation, where they go see the Wayne Newton show in Beverly, because he's sitting on Beverly D'Angelo, that's where we sat. It's that
Same
whole
table?
setup. Yeah. And so, but then they come by and take a picture and they give it to you. You can buy the picture. So they took a picture of all of us. And I'm thinking this is like the cast of Diner. It feels like that.
What a great movie that is.
Right. And we get the picture later, and I think I may still have it.
I would love to see it.
And I have a tiny head, and Mark has proportionate to his body, but square footage wise takes up some mass.
A lot of displacement.
The picture looks like I'm in 3 booths behind him. Like, it's forced perspective. Or I'm Beetlejuice from Howard Stern. Like, I got the thing. Like,
I have since learned.
It's like now they would claim that it was Photoshop because your arms are around me.
Right.
So I'm obviously that gives the context, but it literally looks like it's like this.
I've learned I can't be in the foreground of a photograph. I have to be in the background, and then it looks like I'm in the same plane.
Which I have from this. The other night, I have a picture, and it's exactly that. You're in the back, and I'm in the front.
Because otherwise I have an enormous head.
Let me see if I can find the picture.
So Wayne's playing. First of all, me personally, I went to the show thinking, Wayne Newton.
Yeah.
Who cares?
We're going to do it because we kind of need to do it.
What a musician. He soloed on the piano, the guitar, the banjo, the saxophone, the clarinet.
Classic bit.
But he wasn't vamping. He was soloing on he's like 12 different instruments. He was really a fantastic musician.
Then we went back to his dressing room.
Wait, remember when he introduced us? He starts introducing people, and
which the old Vegas they would do. You know, in the audience today is.
I'm so happy in the audience today is incredible performer, a really great comedian, and I'm getting ready to stand up, and he goes, "It's Bobbity Blah from Sergeant Bilko," and this old guy behind me stands.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're like, yeah, it's so good. So good.
Oh, that was a fun week.
Oh, good times. Mm-hmm. Vegas.
Me and my big head.
But we almost named our production company.
We did?
Well, we named it. We almost named it Coffee Shop Lobster because back then.
I forgot that.
This is like watching the movie Broadway Danny Rose, and that reference is also like watching the movie Broadway because none of you have any idea what we're saying.
You don't.
But it used to be, now when you go to gamble, you put your rewards card in, and when you get a certain number of points, they give you nothing, and that's what it is. Mm-hmm. In the old days, you would talk to the pit boss and schmooze it up, and they'd go, hey, you guys hungry? Here's a voucher. And you could go to the buffet that I'll give the maitre d' later. And we would be playing like $2 blackjack at the time, $5 maybe. But we played so much, and we were having so much fun.
We were.
They would say, hey, you want something to eat? And we'd go to the coffee shop at 2 a.m. and order lobster and steak and whatever we could get.
Coffee shop lobster, right?
And then you had a thing where we played blackjack, and you've never been one to impose upon the people you're with to do a certain ritual or anything.
That would be wrong to force people to do stuff.
Or always. And your thing was for superstition, if the dealer breaks, goes over 21, you would yell, over the falls.
Oh, right.
You'd yell, over the falls, and the whole table must, stranger or friend, go, glug, 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 glug. And the first couple times, the security gets called. And by the fourth time, our boyish charm would win them over.
Right.
And the whole casino's doing it. Mm-hmm. So we named our production company Glug and Marks. Right. But we spelled it with an X, and it looked like a neo-Nazi kind of...
No, it was a spade that spun.
Yeah, but the name, Glug and Marks, it looked like the Proud Boys and us.
Right.
You know,
the best entertainment for white people there is.
Yeah, it was bad. So anyway, that's to say that, as I've said many times, when you ride the Mark DeCarlo ride, you are definitely a passenger.
But it's always a fun ride.
Which brings us to...
Go ahead. Yeah, no, we went to see Bruce Springsteen this week.
I talked about it last week with Robbie. Mm-hmm. Robbie's here, but I've told her that...
She's in the penalty box, feeling shame. She took her shoes off on the car, too.
She's got a foot issue.
Right. So the four of us went, Yenny, my wife, and I, these two, and we went with my friends Joanna Stein and Dave Gassman. Dave's an advertising guy. JoJo's an animation writer, and they have a
big car,
big SUV. So the
that's
six
why
of us.
Invited. No, I'm only kidding. They were great. I love them.
And they had been to Springsteen a bunch of times. You two and Yenny had never been to see the Boss.
And
before.
I still don't think Yenny was like really.
She said she liked it and didn't love it because she kept saying
the only song she really loved was when he did a cover of the Commodores.
Yeah, which I thought was a weird choice.
Night Shift of the Commodore song.
Yeah, but she's like, oh, his songs don't speak to me. It's all about America and blue collar. I'm like, well, yeah, but I mean that that's a whole nother issue. But I thought it was a spectacular show.
Married a girl from Cuba,
right? She felt the love. First of all, you can't deny the artistry of the band and just the showmanship. But I guess the content of she kept saying Promised Land. What does that mean? Promised Land, I think she was predisposed not to like it for some reason. But his songs are blue collar.
But I will say this about Yenny that I really adore, is that she doesn't just blanketly say, oh, it was great. She's really weighing it out, and if it's great, it's great, and if it's not working for her, it's not. It's like she stands in that,
right?
Which I dig.
Yeah,
plus, she's adorable.
She is adorable.
Yeah.
But it was a great night, great show. If he's coming to your town, go see him. The guy's 70 and put on a 3-hour and 20-minute show, and I was exhausted when we left. Just bang, 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 band tight, boom, start, stop, just really tight.
Not to get too intimate with you. You and I have been friends for 30. Mm-hmm.
I know.
We performed together many times in many different ways. I kind of know where you're going. You kind of know where I'm going. Like that relationship. I got choked emotionally. I'm sitting next to Robbie on the left because, maybe something might happen. But I'm sitting next to you on the right, and I got choked watching little Steven and Bruce sharing a microphone that close and thinking as they make eye contact, singing the songs they've sung 50 times, a million times, that they've been doing this since they're 18 years old, and how in each other's, like, do they ever kind of catch eyes and go, can you fucking believe there's,
It must.
Yeah.
But they're close enough to kiss, bouncing lyrics back and forth, and you realize they've been doing it professionally at the highest level for 50 years.
And there was no, in that vibe, there was no, he's the boss. I mean, he's the boss, but he's the star, and it was like equal.
Well, now it is. Back, before The Sopranos, there was a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But once
he's a star, yeah.
Once Steven made his bones with that, and Lillehammer, and Little Steven's Underground Garage on Sirius, I think he's got a bigger profile than he used to have.
Yeah.
But he is, I mean,
and then Robbie really got into when is it Grayson? Is that his first name? Clemens, I don't know.
Jake Clemens.
Jake Clemens, who is the nephew of Clarence Clemens, who's now playing
Clarence's sax.
And then they have a moment. Robbie almost cried behind that.
Mm-hmm.
I did too. I mean, that was really beautiful. But that's where it was living for me. It was that friendships that last that long in that business, doing that thing for other people, and that connection kind of hit different for me.
Yeah, and when they were starting out, like every band or every comedy group or the Price is Right stuff, you're in a van or in a bus traveling with these guys for weeks on end, sharing 4 guys to a hotel room, not enough money for dinner. You're making your bones, you're out, you're singing your songs, people aren't listening. It's tighter than a marriage. Because let's be honest, women come and go, wives come and go, but sidekicks are forever, Mark.
That's exactly right.
Sidekicks are essential.
And very few podcast hosts have sidekicks with several, albeit regional Emmys. So
3 regional Emmys. Yeah. That's true. That's true.
So
put me. I will compete with any other sidekick in the podcast world.
Yeah, non-decorated sidekick.
Right? You think 70 Wilder's got regional Emmys? No.
She has 4 books published and out there in the world, and
right.
And
but they're not. The books didn't win Emmys.
They didn't win Emmys. They didn't. I don't even know what you give books.
No,
because I'd have to read to know. Here's another Vegas Mark DeCarlo story that involves me. And
there's lots.
Involves you too, Robbie, although you're not allowed to speak on this episode. Hey, you want to come over and say something? You could do like little Steven did with.
Hey, yeah,
come on.
Hey, yeah.
Well, Patty did
Pat, no, she sang.
on that same mic.
Patty Schiaffo sang, but I think she started on the wrong note.
She sang the harmony line.
She did. She sang the third above.
Which I thought maybe was on purpose.
Yeah.
Because when if maybe the song was about being together.
I see.
So you're singing harmony without the other person. So it doesn't sound right.
It's attractively dissonant kind of thing.
Right. It's wrong.
Right, you can only come in and say one thing.
One word.
But you can't hang out forever.
But
Hey.
when we kiss, it's fire.
Like,
Back in my own little corner
get
in my
over
own
there.
little chair.
Yes, behave.
Give the sidekick a little bit of that, lady.
That was like lip gloss and bubblegum. That brought me back to like some teenage love. Not
Right?
teenage love, but when I was a teenager.
Mark Walberg canceled.
Oh my God. So we're
Now
in Vegas.
hosting his podcast, his sidekick, Mark DeCarlo.
Your plan all along. So we go to Vegas. This is another example. Mark's like, hey, let's go to Vegas for such and such. It was somebody's bachelor party that may not have even been, was it Mike Maddox? No, you don't know the story.
Maddox didn't even go to his bachelor party. He was drunk by 6 o'clock.
And he
No,
also,
that was his birthday.
that's what he hit. That was great.
Yeah.
He said, this is another story. It's not that story, but this story. We have this friend, Mike Maddox, who's a big producer, but famous for us for something I never saw, but you did, where he did a bit where he put condiments out of the kitchen all over his distended belly.
First of all, it wasn't condiments. It was mayonnaise.
Only
mayonnaise. It was the 84-85 game where Magic Johnson was playing the Detroit Pistons.
And he's a Detroit guy.
He's a big Detroit guy. And the Pistons were down. It was late in the game. He had maybe a couple of beers. He runs we were sharing in a house at the time. He runs to the kitchen and opens up the fridge, takes out mayonnaise and starts rubbing it on his belly, conjuring a victory for the Pistons.
Why does that add up to, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think the Lakers won, though, right?
I assume, but I didn't even see it, but it is burnt into my
I have
retina.
the video. I promised him
I don't know that I ever. You also have video of me on mushrooms at the Grateful Dead show that you've held over my head forever.
Can we say that?
I just said it.
Your
I'm
eyes
full grown
were
now.
so blue. Because your pupils were this big, and it was just blue, blue, blue. And we were talking, and Robbie just swooped you away and said, I'm going to take him for a walk.
Well, the video was I'm eating an apple, and as you do when I'm sober, which has been most of my life, you bait me, and I don't get it that you're baiting me, and I think we're actually having a conversation. You're like, tell me about that apple, Mark. And I'm eating it, and I say, when God created this, it's the perfect size. It's so juicy. And I'm eating it, and he's like zooming in, and then I go, I'm going away now. And I just stare off. So anyway, I've been your amusement for years.
So we're at that Grateful Dead show. It was at the Silver Dome on the outskirts of Vegas.
This wasn't the story I was going to tell. But
big I'll tell it quick. Big U-shaped outdoor place, and we're at the bottom of the U. We're at the very top.
Oh,
in the middle of the
many
desert.
Grateful Dead fans have told this story. And this goes back to what we talked about last week with Robbie about the communal cause. What happens?
Right. So
please continue.
We're at the Silver Dome outside of Vegas, a big U-shaped theater, 70,000 people. We're at the very top of the bottom of the U.
Because Mark said there's nothing to see. We should sit up there.
Right. And we could see everything.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of the desert. And as the show is going on, the Dead's up there playing. I see a thunderstorm rolling in across the desert, getting
Not
closer.
just a thunderstorm, blue skies, but black clouds like end of the world. And again, I'm tripping balls now because of you.
Right.
And I'm like, if the end of the world was going to happen, it would start in Vegas.
Sure.
So I'm sure that's what's going to happen.
It's coming. And you see it coming. It looks fake. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. The Dead's playing on stage. Finally, it's comes over us. It starts raining and pouring. And instead of stopping, the band pulls back so they're under a cover and they start scoring the lightning strikes in the rain. There'd be a bolt of lightning and you'd hear zing, digga-digga-digga-digga-doom, boom, going on for 10 minutes, right?
As the 30,000 people are worried because we're in the middle of the desert in a metal dome and lightning is striking all over the desert.
All over the place. A lot of lightning. They keep playing black clouds, dark, dark,
thunder.
And they're doing that. And then all of a sudden, the storm keeps moving over us. At one point, The cloud.
No, it rips like a piece of paper, just a little. And one beam of sunshine comes through the black clouds.
Bang!
Again, I was on mushrooms. It may not have happened
No,
like
it
this.
was. And it lights up.
It lights up 3 faces
Right.
on this side. And everybody's like, oh. And then it goes to 5 faces and 7 faces. And then the section. And then the whole thing. And then the band starts playing Knocking on Heaven's Door.
It was
and
phenomenal.
you know what we sound like right now.
But so then,
Everyone has gone to a Grateful Dead show
I know,
ever.
but 3 years later, I'm getting in an elevator at Wilshire and La Brea.
Yeah.
I get in the elevator car, and a guy looks at me, and he's like, I think I know you. And
No,
I think
you had a Dead shirt on, and he said, "Did you go to Dead?" or something like that. Or maybe not.
I don't remember. He goes, were you at that Dead show in Vegas? And we're like, yeah, can you believe what happened?
Yeah, and people have recounted that story to me over and over again.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah. By the way,
Because she had to be there.
twice Marcus tried to dose me with mushrooms. Once was the year before for some concert I was a hostage at with him.
And it didn't work the first time?
No, I was scared, so you gave them to me. This is before you kids with the chocolate. This was like
This
mushrooms.
is actual mushrooms. This is
And you handed me
OG.
a stem and a cap.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it in my mouth and chewed on it. And when you weren't looking, I put it in the trash. I was so scared. This time, Robbie was with me.
Mm-hmm.
Robbie sober. You were pregnant on when I tried ecstasy at the LA Coliseum, and I freaked out. Yeah. You were pregnant. You
might have been
you were pregnant.
You might have been pregnant with Goldie.
No, you were pregnant with Morgan at the other Grateful Dead show, which was also in Vegas, but not that year when we went with the Greenfields, and I accidentally threw marijuana on the craps table. I'm sounding like the biggest.
Yeah, I was just going to
degenerate.
say, you're blaming me for all this drug stuff.
Yeah. So
You're the
anyway,
reprobate.
this time you said, "Oh, this will be great." So I ate what you gave me, and Robbie was with me, so I felt safe. So I actually ate it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to the show, and we're there early, and everything's cool. And was it Sting was the opening act?
No, Steve Miller Band.
Steve Miller Band's playing, and I'm not feeling anything, and the show's getting closer to starting, and I'm not feeling anything, and I don't really care, but whatever. And then, as one will do, a joint goes down the way, and I have a couple hits of that. So now I'm comfortably a little bit high, but nothing's happening. And Robbie, recovering addict, but vicariously just wants to know everything drug related, is like, "Are you, do you feel anything yet? Do you feel anything yet?" I'm like, "No, babe, I really don't." And then she turns away to talk to a friend. Like I say, "No." And I'm like this. And she turns away to talk to a friend. And when she turns back, my hands are, and I'm in like as fetal position as I can get in. And that's it. And that's when she says, "Do you need to walk?"
I'm going away now.
Yes. And we go walk. And I can remember saying to her, "I need you to hold me, but don't touch me. Like I need to be held, but I don't want to be held." And then
That's the beauty of marriage, isn't it?
Yeah, and mushrooms, apparently. So anyway, the story I was going to tell
Oh, okay.
of another one of your things is that we go to this, I get talked in, we're going to Vegas for some reason, but then right before we go, I get talked into driving because we need a vehicle big enough, very similar to what happened to us. So I'm driving our Ford Explorer with illegal amount of men in it. Like 8 of us in a car that seats 6.
That's the best way to go to
We
Vegas.
drive to Vegas, and on the first night there, we go on a run. And I win like $3,000, which at the time was the greatest.
30,000.
Yeah, it could have 300,000 actually. And I called Robbie from a payphone because it's pre-cell phone. We were actually using like Roman coins to gamble with on cobblestone roads with other centurions.
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
Yeah, so I'm up, and I called Robbie. This is the first night there. I said, "We're up $3,000, honey, and I promise you I'll come home with $1,500. And I know it's too many days to sustain." Of course, it's time to go home. We all lost our shit, all of it.
At the state line, remember? Didn't
we lost our money. Now we get in the car, and I'm driving, and everybody falls asleep. And all I'm doing, driving the 40 minutes from where we were to the Khaladin, the Aladdin, to the state line, I'm just sitting, how am I going to tell Robbie that I lost $3,000?
Yeah.
I can't. And then we get to the state line, Nevada Landing and Whiskey Pete's, and I power slide the Ford Explorer, and everybody wakes up. I'm like, I'm getting my money back. And I pull in, and then you turn into the most enabler I've ever seen in my life. And as we're walking in,
I felt it.
he's like, you know what you should do? You know the cartoon with the devil and the angel? The angel's nowhere to be seen. And it's Mark on my shoulder, and he's going, you know what you should do? You know, it's because it's poetic. Is you should go in, you find a table, and you lay $100 on every spot. You do one hand, and that's what's going to happen. And I go, that's a great idea. So we go in to Whiskey Pete's. Mm-hmm. We walk in with a mission. I feel like I was Zach Galifianakis in the Hangover at this point. Yep. And they only allowed me to play 6. And I only had 600.
Crisp.
I had
100.
I had 900 total. Okay. So I needed to win 600 to make 1,500 so I could go home and stay married. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And my memory goes, nobody's really paying attention, but money plays, okay. And it's laying there, and they deal the cards out. By then, stadium seating of people. And, of course, I now realize you're like, hey, come see my guy. All of his money. Hey. Maybe
he's going to pull out a gold tooth if he loses.
You may have been taking bets on the side. I don't know. And I get dealt like a 12, a 13, a 14, a 7, just the worst 6 hands a man can get. But he gets dealt like a 3 show. So I don't hit. And he draws like what seems like 8 cards. Over the falls. Like, oh my God. Scoop up the money, go to the cage, get in the car. We drive home 1,500 on the nose. Beautiful.
Which wouldn't have happened without my enabling.
100%.
Okay, well, you make it sound like I'm the devil, but in this case, it sounds like I'm the angel because you're still married.
What I'm making it sound like is you are the devil, but sometimes it's fun to dance with the devil.
Sure it is.
Yeah. There we go.
I mean, that's life, Mark. You have to dance on the sharp edge of the razor. You have to dance with the devil. You got to slap the ass of a monkey sometimes to enjoy life.
You may have taken the metaphor farther than I'm comfortable with.
I mean, when you're laying on your deathbed 90 years from now, you're going to remember the $50 you lost or the $600 you won. Right?
Okay. So in all this inane conversation, that's actually a takeaway. Mm-hmm. That goes back to what I talk about all the time. Is that controlling your life gives you exactly what you predict.
Right.
It's in the gray areas, the scary cliffs of DeCarlo where excitement happens. Well, and regional Emmys are one.
Right. The question should not be why. It should be why not. And if there's not a great reason to why not, give it a shot.
I would even go farther to say, when posed, it's not the question. The answer is always okay. More things happen with a yes than a no.
Yes, and. That's rule 1.
And. Let's just stay with improv.
Right.
And so far, in all of our escapades, which have been numerous, I've not been arrested.
Nope.
I have done illegal things.
Yep.
I have not hurt myself physically.
Nope. But we never do anything.
That's not true.
We never do anything dangerous.
Got my tooth knocked out of studs doing warm-up.
Did you really?
Mm-hmm.
How?
Audience rushed the stage. I tried to stop them.
No.
Yeah.
Why were they rushing the stage?
So studs was
your snaggletooth or like a regular tooth?
No, my snaggletooth, which is already sort of fake already.
Okay.
But it broke beyond. So I was the warm-up guy. Mark was the star. We were in this horrible studio, but the audiences were before you would paper a house, but now the studio audiences are all paid extras, and they're just sitting there reading the newspaper until you roll tape. But the show had 3 really smoking hot single women, or vice versa, and 2 smoking hot men, and it was a dating show. And Mark would host, and it was funny, really, really funny. So if there were 3 alpha girls or guys on the show, there were 5 each of their friends who wanted to watch the taping who were in the audience. Plus a methadone clinic and a Girl Scout troop and senior citizen group.
It really was a diverse group.
Right. And I was the warm-up guy, trying to corral and keep it funny and make jokes. And you often helped. And they would bring the contestants from,
and you often help.
You would often help while I was building my career. In the shadows.
Well, people don't understand. If you've never been to a taping, it's typically
Tell us about TV, Mark.
It's a thankless job, but if it's not done correctly, the show suffers. And we would shoot 3 shows, take an hour for lunch, and shoot 3 more. So it would take us
it's a marathon.
2 hours to shoot 3 shows. We were usually
longer.
All right, but so let's call it 3 hours.
Yeah.
For 3 20-minute shows. So there's a lot of dead time, and if you lose the crowd, then they're not paying attention when the show's being taped. They don't laugh at the jokes, and the show dies.
And unlike sitcoms where they can end some laughter and stuff like that, ours had responses that you wanted to hear. Oh, hey! So I'm like doing all that.
Yeah.
But in between shows, there would be a break, and the cast that was on the show or the contestants that were on the show would be escorted off, and then new ones would come in. And in this particular situation, 3 women were escorted on stage that were really gorgeous. And in the front row were these young, energetic men who I'm sure have found a life that's worthy today, but possibly were gangsters then. Mm-hmm. And they got up to kind of bum rush the stage a little bit. Not really, but hey, trying to talk to the girls. Uh-huh. And I would jokingly was like, hey. But one of them hits the mic into my face and my tooth shatters, which would not be so bad, except I had just been hired for the first time in my life to host something on camera. The next day.
What was it?
Gonzo Games, the first show I ever hosted. I was flying out to do that the next day. And it's already 7:38 at night. Mm-hmm. And so we called the dentist, who's like, I'll come in for you at 10. So I go to the dentist at 10, and they put fake tooth shit, which is now a theme that's turned out pretty good. So I'll blame it on this. It was trauma. So they make the tooth for me and fill it in as best she could. Mm-hmm. But because it was after hours, her compressor for all the machines weren't working. So they put me, it was like a chiclet, like chewed up and stuck into my face.
Just don't get it wet.
No, worse. She hands me sandpaper and says, when you're on the plane tomorrow, just you can kind of smooth it out. So I'm literally on the plane with commercial grade sandpaper, not dental sandpaper. And I'm like,
use the 180. That's the good for
while
the
my
tooth.
lip bleeds from the rough edges. And I'm going to go on camera for this.
Pretty gonzo, though.
Yeah. Well,
Very
nice
gonzo.
way to bring it back. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah. You are...
Weren't you making a point?
I was saying, no, we were saying that I've always said yes to the things you've done.
Yes, you have.
Never been arrested, never been hurt. But in fact, I have been hurt.
Right. You always eventually say yes, but you always say no at first, or you hesitate.
Have you watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Yeah.
When he's like, Cameron, and he's like, no. Okay.
Right.
You're Ferris.
Right.
Sadly, I'm Cameron with a, sinus problem.
Right.
Yeah.
But I've never advocated that we do anything dangerous or injurious to others. It's just, you know what? I enjoy life. I enjoy being entertained. And sometimes that takes other people to help me be entertained.
Yes. You enjoy life and you enjoy being entertained, and you are not concerned about making others be the fodder for your entertainment.
Well, strangers, no. I never embarrass my friends.
Yes, you do.
When?
When you made us tap dance in a sushi bar?
That was
Robbie was like, that wasn't embarrassing. That was an opportunity.
I was dying to do that. And I knew she was. You know what it is? I think I have a sixth sense, and I think you do as well. When you've interviewed enough people that are like civilians and not show business people,
yes,
you intuit where they want to go and what they want to do. And she wanted to tap dance in that sushi
for an
wrist.
opportunity.
She was psychically begging me.
Robbie's the Kristen Wiig character. Don't make me dance.
Right, exactly.
Please don't ask me to dance. Okay, give me a bounce.
That was awesome. And then you guys just literally, it was like an MGM musical, dancing down the corridor.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. But you are, I end up doing, like on this podcast and on TV, I end up getting into like heady talk that's sort of an extension, I say, of Robbie's and my trying to figure out life stuff. But I have to cop to a lot of it is also there. You are a philosophy, in my opinion. I have witnessed you and how you operate, and it's a philosophical thing. Especially metaphysics, quantum physics is very big with you.
I almost died when I was 17. I got hit with a shot put at track practice, and I was within 10 minutes of bleeding out and dying.
That's called taking a cue and going right to it. That was beautiful.
And I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. I never finished that school year. It was a huge event in my life. And I think at that time I realized, man, I could die any day. People can get hit by buses. People get cancer. Bad shit happens all the time. I might as well enjoy every single day. That's why I can't stand not doing something.
But here's the difference in how you process that same beat. Yours is, I've seen it. I got to live every day. Mine is I could die every day. And let's just panic about that forever.
But there's no point in panicking.
That's right.
If a lightning's going to strike you, lightning's going to strike you and you're done.
Could be an angel.
You know what? Stevie Ray Vaughan, brilliant guitar player, was an addict, fell off a stage, almost died from drug and alcohol abuse. He went through the 12-step program. He came back stronger than ever, put out 2 great albums. Helicopter crash, dead at 35.
So there's just no rhyme or reason.
Well, you know what? I think if you want to get philosophical for a minute, I think reincarnation is real, and people come back and live lives time and time again. And like you come back and you have something you have to accomplish in this life.
It's the defending your life concept.
Right.
You can come back until you've learned the lesson.
And maybe Stevie needed to learn how to defeat that demon. And once he did, he was done.
So who were you before?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought.
But look, John Lennon. Half of his songs are about give peace a chance. Happiness is a warm gun. All these peace and love. And he injected so much peace and love into the zeitgeist of the world. And then he gets killed by a nutcase. And I mean, that's the Christ story.
But it's that song. All the good people die young.
Right. But I'm saying maybe
the Christ story as well. Yeah.
Maybe that was John's gig for this life. Yeah. He had to come back, spread that. You know what? I'm not even kidding around. In his time, Jesus would stand on a mountain and say shit.
And everybody's like, that's crazy. Love thy neighbor.
Right. And what was in the 60s, that thing was rock and roll music. That was the bullhorn that reached the whole world. And you cannot deny that the shit that John Lennon wrote, he and Paul together, the lyrics and the music changed the world
and
for the better.
And are also philosophical, nearly biblical, parallels.
Yes.
And
that just doesn't happen.
Arguably, you could take all the great prophets from any belief system.
Right.
And all the great artists. And if you could do the old layering thing.
Well, not all, but certainly John Lennon specifically.
All right.
He wasn't singing about cars and he was, but I mean, look at his catalog. It's
George Harrison too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and those 4 guys magically came together and transformed the world with positive mojo. And when John was done, John was done.
So
if whatever comes next is better, and this is the purgatory, he won. Stevie won.
Who are those people that are in? Who are those young people now who may be those prophets that were not? Is Taylor Swift one of them?
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got a positive message. She's corralled the entire world.
Acceptance,
yes. Girl power,
yes.
Positivity.
Okay.
All that stuff. She's a great writer. It's the writers and the prophets that change the world for good or for bad, and a function of how popular your material
Bob
is.
Marley.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of them did. And now let's swing it back to Springsteen.
Okay.
He has 50 years of material and music that has changed the world. Not as much in a peace and love context as John Lennon.
But that's really interesting. Now we can connect the dots, because when asked what level of fan I was, I'm like, I'm only a fan of Bruce Springsteen as it has permeated my system as the general thing, which is religion or philosophy or anything like that, is that who he is being to the world is so dynamic, so important, so iconic, it seeps in beyond where the interest lies. So in other words, Jesus, his followers followed Jesus, but his naysayers didn't. But no one doesn't know his philosophy today.
Right. And now after you've seen Springsteen put on a show, I think it is his stage presence and the artistry of him and the band. It's undeniable.
Well, as a performer and a person, what did I tell you? You had an episode last week. You had a full episode.
You just sit there and be pretty, honey.
I don't like it when you're friends with my friends. Okay. What I got that was empowering to me as a human that Robbie and I talked about last week when she was allowed to speak, and as a performer as well, is that what I saw him doing was enjoying, first of all, and not
1,000%.
pushing. There was no push. It wasn't like, let me just perform my ass off for you. When it was energetic, he was energetic. When it wasn't, he was philosophical. But he was on his heels in everything he did. You got the sense that no one could do anything in the audience, on stage, things break, anything. Nothing was going to take him out of this really graceful, calm gift of, and not just gift, but indulgence of his, not indulgence is bad, but experience he was choosing for himself as well.
Right.
And I think that's another lesson, is that we don't inspire others by telling them. We inspire others by them observing us being graceful and peaceful.
Them.
And being.
Right.
It's our beingness that matters, not our doingness.
Well, and clearly, Bruce understands that going to a Bruce Springsteen show is a big deal for us.
That's right.
Especially since he hasn't toured for a long time. And he understands that in seemingly an ego-free way. And he knows he's fronting one of the best rock and roll bands in history.
And
so all I got to do is show up and flick the switch, and we're gonna knock all of you on your asses.
But
and they did.
Then there's this, which is the generosity of spirit, which I talked about again last week when Robbie. You have to drop these in order now.
Sure.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't have anything else. But the generosity of spirit, that when you are experiencing joy, you're giving it away, and there is part of Bruce that is going to play what he wants to play, but also knows that you came for something and he's going to give it to you. And there are other artists that I have worked with, artists may not be the word, actors and others that I have worked with where I've experienced the exact opposite. I'm wondering if I don't think I register on his level at all, but, and I'm sure he's a terrific guy now. But I was the warm-up guy for the Chevy Chase show. And let's just say maybe he was going through a hard time at the time.
Talk to Joel McHale about that.
Or anyone else who's ever worked with him in show business.
Right.
But
well, it goes back to what you were saying earlier. The truly talented artists, they don't have to be that way.
Right.
They can just be themselves, and they know that I'm the shit, and this is what I do. And I know I'm going to make you happy. I'm not worried about it.
Right.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a show, maybe not the kind of show you expect. I'm going to sing a couple songs you haven't heard before, but trust me, you're going to like it.
you're going to get born to run at some point.
Of course.
I'm going to give you what you want, and I don't mind. It's not like I'm going to phone it in because you want to hear it. Fuck, I can't believe you requested it again. I get it. As opposed to, and what I'm saying is my experience, I also hate when people do this when they have a limited experience with some celebrity and say that guy's an asshole or he was great. So that caveat. But my limited experience in this one moment was an audience that cannot wait to see him, like really fangirling beyond that. And in the moment that he came out on stage to talk to the audience, to question the audience, was so condescending in a way that you saw the whole audience go, ooh, I don't want to see my guy I love be that guy right now.
Right.
Which was also a lesson for me because I think I've been both of those in my life in front of an audience. To some shades of gray, there have been times
I've never seen it. If I had, I would have said
I think there are
something
times
to you.
when I can't think of any in particular, but maybe there's an episode or a performance that didn't click, and I couldn't figure out why, and maybe I was a little bit too about me in it, or a little resentful of the venue or how many people were in the room.
But you're not that way.
No.
Another guy who I think handles celebrity really well is my good personal friend Tom Hanks. I've traveled internationally and been in his orbit, and he gives everybody a moment, right? You come up to him, Tom. He focuses. He gives you a couple minutes, a couple, 15, 20 seconds, and then he effortlessly moves along and leaving the person like,
my friend
was great.
My friend Marty Sheen did the same thing. I like it when you make the names.
Well, but you know what? It's like when you are famous or a celebrity, you're famous and a celebrity because fans watch you and pay money. All of our money comes from fans. So these people that don't have time for their fans, you know what? Get over yourself.
I have nothing but time for my fan. As a matter of fact, he told me
and thank you for watching, fan.
And he told me to quit DMing him as much.
But like you go to a Comic-Con and people line up and give you money to sign and talk to you, and it's
Robbie said
great
this too.
to meet those people.
But Robbie has said this. I'll say it because you can't talk. Robbie's from Friday the 13th, so she gets invited to these horror cons where people stand in line to sign and pay for the autograph, and I feel the same way as she does it. At the start of it, it feels dirty on our end that I'm taking money for something I would happily do if you ran into me on the stage.
Right.
And it feels like it's projecting desperate or anything like that. But what Robbie came to, if you want to come sidle over and say something, you can.
You are so weak, Mark.
Come on.
So weak.
Bring that cute little thing over here. But what she said was, and I said to her, is like, you can't feel bad about this because they are happy to pay that money for you to have that experience. And that's, right, Rob?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just...
Okay, that's enough. I'm just kidding.
The thing is they, they had this experience when they were young and, seeing me, it's their youth. It's their youth.
And
it's
it becomes
memory.
not about you.
It's that crush. It's that, oh my gosh, there she is. It's like, it just brings all that.
So
I was on my first date and I took the girl to see Halloween.
And they told me the same story over and over. I wasn't supposed to see the movie. And I'm aware of that. And it's my gift.
But what happens is...
hear it over and over and be grateful.
Right. But what it does is it trips the switch of self-absorption as opposed to giving. So what happens is I feel... this is me talking like you. I'm here signing autographs, and at first I feel like this feels weird, and I don't like it because of what it looks like on me, and blah, 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 until the first person comes up, and then I've seen you do it, becomes so lovingly giving to that person to give them the experience they want.
Yeah.
Sadly, a lot of those are sexual, and I don't think that was the plan. And I know it's $30, but...
she's got to eat, Mark.
Yeah, I mean they don't. It's no per diem, and
we do it too. I just did a show with Phil Hendry, and if you don't know Phil Hendry, he is a genius comedian who used to do a live talk radio show and do characters and voices, and no one knew it was him.
Google him. It's too hard to explain how brilliant
he's the Borat of talk radio. A genius comedian, does voices.
You've been talking about him for years.
I think he's hilarious. And so I got to do a scripted podcast with him last Monday night. And he shows up and I tried to play cool for about 5 minutes. I'm like, Phil, come on, you're a genius. And then I was, and he was gracious too, so it works both ways.
I'm gonna close this episode with a story I just remembered of yours that loosely ties into this moment because you're a fan of people.
Yeah, I appreciate talent.
Yes, and you're willing to do whatever you can to have the experience if you can.
Yes, within reason.
Or not.
Oh, I know what you're going to do. Go ahead.
Mark was a guest star on Matlock. You're going to like this one, Kaylin. Yeah. And also guest starring that week was Milton Berle.
Mr. Television.
One of the most famous, for those of you who don't know, one of the most famous actors from vaudeville and radio who was called Mr. Television because he was one of the first stars on TV.
He sold millions of televisions.
Right.
His show went on the air in 1949 on NBC, made NBC the #1 network. People wouldn't go out on Tuesday nights because they were watching his hour-long variety sketch comedy show.
And in a move for diversity and inclusion here, also famous for dressing in drag.
Right. First, and pretty much only guy at the time who was doing a drag character.
Yeah. Oh, well, they did it in vaudeville all the time, but he was doing it on TV.
Right.
But a brilliant, iconic, old school comedy dude forever who's famous for all of his comedy, but also absolutely famous for apparently having an enormous sexual organ.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, Rob.
Robbie would know.
Yeah.
Because she works in show business. She remembers.
Right.
So Mark's doing Matlock for a week.
Mm-hmm. Went down to North or South Carolina. Where was it? Willington.
I wasn't there. I only heard
Willington,
the story.
South Carolina, I think.
It's one of my favorite stories that I tell that's not mine.
So, and I'm playing this young stand-up comedian, and he's playing this old, washed-up comedian, and we have a fight on stage, and it's, you know.
So you're having basically like a comedy bar mitzvah where you're working with one of the greatest in that realm.
In the comedy world,
and you're having lunch, and you're getting to know him, and he's kind of like your friend now.
So we do the first take of the scene where I'm supposed to see him in the crowd and berate him, and we shoot it the first time, and they cut it, and Milton comes up and he goes, I was too nice. I didn't uncork on him. And he's like, you got to really give it to me. Really, son of a, just really. So we did a second take, and I was really mean and nasty, or old, you're going to die, blah, blah. Cut, loved it. We're taking a break and they're resetting. And Milton's costume at the time was a trench coat and a suit underneath. And we're sitting around in this comedy club, and it's me and Milton and a bunch of young 20-year-old extras. And he's talking about show business. And I'm asking him questions about...
I don't know if this is the same story.
It is. You're live television. By the way, we're talking for 10, 20 minutes. And at one point, he starts talking about his mother and how his mother used to line up women for him. My mother used to get girls because, once they see it, they can't get enough of it. He's talking about his penis as if in the third person.
Right. But because it is
bragging, and deep too.
Yeah.
Bragging. And then and he's like, excuse me, I'm going to go to the restroom. He gets up to go to the restroom. And the thought popped into my head. If you don't go now, you lose, right? I can't tell this story in the future. So he goes to the bathroom. I wait a minute or two.
Not nearly long enough.
I walk into the bathroom. He's at the first urinal. I leave the safety urinal in the second one empty, and I take the third one.
Yes.
And I start peeing into the urinal. And we're sitting there for a moment. Glances in. He goes, "So, kid, you want to see it?" And he just turns his hips. And it was like,
am I right or am
I
right?
Holding it like it was like an old sweat sock.
Well, the best joke I ever heard was when I was on the Friars Club roast and he was there, and Freddie Roman, who was the Jeff Ross before Jeff Ross, says, "Look, I'm not going to spend the whole night talking about Milton Berle Schlong. Okay, let's just get over it. Everybody knows. Everybody talks about it. I'm going to put it to bed right now. I'm just going to tell you right now, I was at the Friars Club. I was in the locker room. I saw him naked. And all I'll tell you is it looks like Danny DeVito taking a nap on two pillows." Thanks for watching, you guys. And I will say that if I have a permanent sidekick, there's only one. I have one sidekick in life. And then I have another that I really love. And that's Mark DeCarlo. I don't know if this fits into...
How could I not be the permanent sidekick?
Well, one, you're available.
Right.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Two, I know enough dirt on you to, if I had to, somehow blackmail you in.
Yes.
And same is true, that all you have to do is release the picture of me on mushrooms, and you're on every episode.
I have video, too.
If you have the video, I would play it on this.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, I do have it. During COVID, I went and took all of our old videotapes and I digitized them all.
So that would be fun.
Yeah.
Do you have when we did a musical number together?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That we wrote? The Ash Grove, right?
Yeah. Or no, that one we did on the pier. It was the
same
show.
I have all that.
Yeah, okay.
I have it all.
So
stay tuned.
This is Patreon stuff. If I had a Patreon.
Right.
Yeah. And Kalen is wondering why he took this gig at all at this point.
I'm wanting to see the video now.
Yeah, I can't believe you're still awake.
Yeah. All right. Love you all. See, I'm going to sign off.
Okay, let me hear your bonfire sign off. I'm going to do... Wait a minute. Hold on.
You can do... Yeah. All right. All right.
Wait, hold on. Don't do it yet, Mark.
All right. All right. You're going to use props? I see what you're doing. This is Foley. It's like a Foley studio.
Right? Okay, here we go.
Good.
All right, here's the bonfire.
Hold on. I hope this conversation has warmed you, like the fire we're sitting next to now. If anything that we've spoken about has uplifted your life or made you want to see Milton Berle's dick, like, subscribe, and comment. I'm Mark Walberg with my permanent sidekick, Mark DeCarlo, and Robbie, who wasn't supposed to be here. Don't let the fire go out. See you next time, fiery people. I still don't have a name for them.
So bad. Lightning bugs?
Lightning bugs.
Yeah, that's good. Fireflies?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's why you need a sidekick.
That's it.
Fireflies.
See you next time, Fireflies.